What is up, guys? It's Kay here. Today we're going to be playing Bads. Now this was a game created in 3 weeks for the Spooktober 6th annual visual novel jam. The synopsis. Estranged from your parents, you leave home in search of a new life. Things seem to be looking up when you find work at an old inn. As an employee, you're tasked with all sorts of work. Maintaining the front desk, cleaning guest rooms, and tidying up the baths. After a coworker unexpectedly quits, your main job is now in the kitchen, working close with the owner, Mr. Tokuri, whose famous soup is to die for. Alright. Hey, you. What was your name again? You can call me Kay. Alright, Kay. You're a minute late and we're short-staffed. Miss Yameta quit this morning. Can you wipe the kitchen down and take care of the dishes from breakfast? Right away, sir. Despite being a week into the job, Mr. Tokuri still hasn't taken the time to remember my name. To be honest, I'm relieved. I take off my shoes and step up into the hallway of the old inn. When I started here a week ago, Miss Yameta told me it had been in Mr. Tokuri's family for 250 years. Speaking of Miss Yameta, did Mr. Tokuri just say she quit? I had seen her at work only yesterday and was a little hurt she hasn't said goodbye. Maybe there was a family emergency or something. I run my knuckles along the plaster wall on the way to the kitchen, drawing blood. I imagine everyone who passed through over the last few centuries who had done the same. I grab a cloth and spray bottle and wipe down the counters before heading to the sink. On the way there, something catches my eye. How long has that log been there? I'm not usually a nosy person, but I suddenly feel a strong urge to approach the fridge. I have to know what's inside. As I stand there, a small voice in my head warns me that I should get back to work. Gripping the cloth in my hand, Alright, wipe down the fridge, wash. Let's wipe down the fridge. No, hey, Kay. I look up to see Mr. Tokuri red as a cherry waving his arms at me. Are you stupid? What'd I tell you to do, huh? I just thought, you didn't think anything, you dumb piece of shit. I didn't have time to listen to your excuses. I already told you, don't touch that refrigerator. I start to object, but my words catch in my throat like eels in a net. You know what? It's about that time. Can you just go make up the guest rooms? I'll take care of the kitchen. Yes, sir. I leave the kitchen and head up the rickety old staircase. I've never been talked to that way in my life. Not even my father talked to me like that. Usually I reported to Miss Yameta during my shifts, so I hadn't interacted much with Mr. Tokuri up until today. If outbursts like that are common, I can see why she might quit. By the time I finish cleaning up the guest rooms, it's time for lunch. Dreading the thought of bumping into Mr. Tokuri, I head downstairs and back to the kitchen. Lunch is my favorite time of the day. Being as poor as I am, it helps that Mr. Tokuri offers all of his employees free lunch during their shifts. I prepare my tray and sit down at a little table at the corner of the kitchen. This past week, Miss Yameta and I both sat here eating and bonding, but now, I'm all alone. People come from all over the country for the food. It's been featured in countless variety shows, and I'm lucky enough to eat it every day. Everything is good, but the soup is the best soup I've ever had in my entire life. Well, it's probably Miss Yameta's soup. He's eating people. That's why it's so good. As I sit lamenting the absence of Miss Yameta, my mouth full of soup, Mr. Tokuri walks over and lowers himself into her usual chair with a small huff. I'm sorry for yelling at you earlier, Kay. With Miss Yameta quitting all of a sudden like that, the stress is getting to me today. He rests his elbows on the table and rubs his temples wearily. Maybe I'm not cut out to run this inn. Empathy tugs at my heartstrings and I awkwardly try to reassure him. You're a great boss, don't be so hard on yourself. Thank you. A moment of silence follows and I take another sip of the soup. Do you know know how long the inn has been in my family? Miss Yameta told me 250 years. Close, 251 years. I was never supposed to take it over. I had an older brother, but he died in a motorcycle accident. I was working for a big company in Germany at the time. Had to come home and help out my father. We never got along, and I wanted to be as far away from home as possible. But once I got back, well, everything was forgiven. Mr. Tokuri stares off into the distance. I'm sorry. For what? About your brother. Oh no, it's fine. It was a lifetime ago now. How's the food? It's amazing. The soup is the best I've ever had in my life. Thank you. That's wonderful to hear. It's a family recipe. Once we're finished with lunch, I collect our dishes and wash them. The rest of the day goes by uneventfully. I'm headed home now, Mr. Tokuri. Have a good rest of the night. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Kay. Be careful on the way home. Yo, gonna have to be careful because he's probably gonna try to kill us. I arrived back at my apartment, guided only by the occasional street light. Covered in sweat, I decide to take a bath. An ambulance. When I was young, I went to see the circus with my parents. I was so excited. The final act was shallow diving. The performer climbed the ladder, gave a bow, and aimed straight for the kiddie pool. The only problem was that she missed. She crunched into the floor like a broken accordion, and I never saw her move again. Everyone in the audience gasped, except for my dad. He just laughed. The memory, along with the cool autumn air blowing in from the window, make me shiver as I crawl into bed. I smack my alarm clock and roll over onto the floor. My stomach aches from hunger. I skipped dinner again last night. There was no way around it. I just don't have the money. I brush my teeth, get dressed, and run to the bus. The inn is about 40 minutes out from the city at the base of a mountain. Today the bus is packed with tourists. Oh, the trees are so red and beautiful this time of year. Tourists do. A few months ago, Beautiful Japan posted a video about this area. She said the scenery is great, of course, but the soup at the Sansui Inn is to die for. You know, I love Beautiful Japan. We should have stayed at that inn. I tried making reservations, but it was booked until January. I press the button for my stop, pay my fare, and step out into the fresh mountain air. After a short walk, the inn comes into view. I wish I could walk this road to work forever. Good morning, Mr. Tokuri. Good morning, Kurt. I arrive as the guests are being served breakfast. I put on my apron and get to work. Partway through chopping a small mountain of vegetables, I notice a woman standing in the kitchen doorway, tapping her foot expectantly. I glance over at Mr. Tokuri, but he is busy finishing up the last few meals. I put down my knife, make my way over to the guests. Yes, ma'am, how may I help you? There's a hair in my soup. Can you get the manager? Her voice is curt. I can feel the anger simmering underneath, ready to boil over. Yes, ma'am. So sorry for the trouble. I walk across the kitchen to Mr. Tokuri. Excuse me, Mr. Tokuri. One of the guests is saying there's a hair in her soup. Oh? He turns to me and I nod in the direction of the sour-faced woman. Alright, I'll take care of this. Mr. Tokuri waddles away in a huff. After a brief exchange, he leads the customer into the hallway. A few moments later, however, Mr. Tokuri's voice shakes the old inn. You probably put that hair in there yourself. How dare you! I run out of the kitchen in an attempt to defuse the situation. I side with the customer. Excuse me, ma'am, may I borrow Mr. Tokuri for a second? I lead Mr. Tokuri back into the kitchen and whisper to him. Look, Mr. Tokuri, I know she's wrong, but you can't talk to people like that. Just refund her breakfast and go on with your day. Mr. Tokuri glares at me before heading out into the hallway. I'm sorry about that, ma'am. You're right. I'll refund the breakfast and prepare another meal for you. Please, wait in your room. That wasn't so hard, was it? Thank you. The guest heads back upstairs. Mr. Tokuri comes back into the kitchen. He slaps the back of my head as hard as he can. My brain shakes in my skull. Don't you ever pull some shit like that again. You embarrassed me and the sensory inn. You should be ashamed of yourself. We work through the rest of the day in silence. Mr. Tokuri mopes at the far end of the kitchen, merely nodding and grunting when necessary. We say nothing as we eat our lunch. After the guests finish the dinner, I take my apron off and gather my things. I'm headed home, Mr. Tokuri. Is there anything else you need before I go? After breakfast tomorrow, I have some errands to run. You can come in at 11. I need you to cover check-ins in the afternoon, but most importantly, I need you to clean the baths. Scrub them real good, would you? Yes, sir. Well then, have a good night. See you tomorrow. You too, sir. What a terrible day. Slipping into the tub, I think about how the only time I've ever felt true privacy was during bath time. I didn't have a bedroom of my own growing up, living with my parents in a one-room apartment. We were as poor as dirt. My dad couldn't work, so we both relied on my mom. It feels like a lifetime ago now. I close my eyes for a second. I feel a tug at my leg. I jump. Looking down, I see... Ah! The water disappears, replaced by dark, wriggling tendrils. Hair? It envelops me and holds me there in the water. I shiver in fear. I expect it to drag me under, but... It cradles me gently back and forth like a mother with her baby. Ah! Cough, cough, wheeze. I must have fallen asleep in the bath. I look around and there's no hair anywhere, except for on my head anyway. That's enough of that for tonight. I pull the plug out at the bottom of the tub. The water funnels down the drain. I leave the bath and head back into my bedroom. I stare out of my window at the street below. The street is quiet, with only the occasional car passing by. My stomach rumbles so loudly I jolt awake. 10:15. I missed my alarm. In a panic, I get dressed and run to the bus. I don't even have time to brush my teeth. Not wanting to cover the seat in my sweat, I opt to stand for the ride. I step off the bus and run down the mountain road toward the inn. The autumn mountain air stings my nostrils. As the inn comes into view, I check my watch. 11, right on time. I take my shoes off and step into the hallway of the old inn. I make it to the kitchen, but immediately freeze in the doorway. The lock is gone. Open the refrigerator. Ah! As I reach out to the refrigerator, a scorching heat radiates from my tailbone to my skull. I turn around to see Mr. Tokuri holding a bloody knife. I fall into a heap on the ground. The heat has dissipated. My blood courses sharp through my veins like icicles. Alright, so if we didn't go for the fridge and we just cleaned the baths, I feel like we might have been able to unlock a different ending. I think we goofed up there. I look up at my boss, his eyes twitching and he's breathing heavily. I can't have you finding out my secret. It ruined my life. I'll be fine. No one cares about you. Just close your eyes. No one will miss you. I promise. Ending 1. But yeah, we're just gonna call it here. The visuals and stories are really nice. Really appreciated that. Had very good pacing as well. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Don't forget to sub. I'll include a link to the game in the description. If you guys figure out what the other ending is, the alternative endings, let me know in the comments. Other than that, take it easy.